everyone, George here, and we're going to do something a little bit different in this video. I actually have gotten a little bit tired of working on the Five Nights at Freddy's thing. I've been doing it a lot over the past few weeks, and while I'm really eager to continue and move forward in that project, every now and then everyone needs a little bit of a break. So I have a checklist of things that I actually need to work on this weekend. No, not that. This. Here we are. The students at the Rowan Virtual Reality Center where I work have been working on a game, and we released it last, October for Halloween as sort of like a private game that people could come and play. And we're updating that game this year. Myself, as well as Michael Bucciaroni, Matt Montagnino, as well as more recently, Zach Norris, have all been working on this together. What we're going to do here is I need to finish my homework. Why not show you some one-shot items that I'm going to have to make for this game? So we've got things like trees, a door, I need to make a ghost model for a girl, rubble, I need to make bodies and skeletons and mining equipment. Well, I need to make a flesh wall. I need to make a monster alcove for where monsters are going to be hiding to kill the player. What the heck does that say? Unfortunately, I was a little shaky when I took this photo, apparently. Oh, the flesh sack! I also need to make a sphincter portal type doorway open up, and I think that's... Oh, I need to wet the material and create normal maps as well. Alright, so things that I'm interested in doing today in this video is let's tackle the door. So level 0 is a prologue in the game where Mike, our current graduate student, spent a lot of time creating a great narration that walks you through the beginning of the game, giving you the story elements. And during that, we want to have sort of like a Bilco door or like a cellar door open up. Something it's showing you a series of different models as we walk through what is mainly an audio experience. Mine doors. So we had a little bit of a disagreement on what we wanted this to look like. We weren't sure which way we wanted to go. The game itself locks the user's view so that you can't move up and down. Therefore, we wanted something that's a little bit more up. But the sound effect itself is a scratching sound, or it sounds like you're clearing dirt away from an area. Therefore, it made more sense to have dirt on it, and therefore more like a cellar door. Now that's kind of cool. I actually really like that. And I do want to find at least another image, something to work off of. Let's see what we have here. I think at the end of the day, some of us, especially Mike, were more interested in this particular look and feel. I'm not exactly opposed to it, actually. You know, it can look pretty good. This might be fun to make. So let's save this out as vertical wooden frame. Now these assets are just going to be floating in space. So let's come on over here. I believe I already set my project directory. Let's see if I have. Yes, there's all the stuff in the scene. So we're in a new scene, file. Let's go ahead and save this as mine entrance. Actually, I don't like that. Let's call this mine entrance _01. There we are. So because I'm recording this video, I'm working with a lot less space than usual, but all we really need to take from this reference material is we're going to have a series of wooden frame elements on the sides. We're going to have the doors. We'll need to transform the pivots to where they're going to rotate, because inside of Unity, we're going to write a script to auto open these so that I will, at the end of this video, hopefully have a package that I'll be giving to the other student who's managing the entire project. And all he'll do is add it to the scene, call the script I write, and the doors will open automatically for him. So let's begin. Let's bring this object in. Nice little square cube thing, and let's just bring it on out and duplicate it a bit here and there. And it looks like it's 2 or 3 different objects. What's really important, I think, with an object like this is to make things look like they were placed a little bit haphazardly. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that a few times before I start making them unique. And by unique, I mean rotating them ever so slightly. Whenever I'm doing this sort of thing, let's DV and snap to the top there. Whenever I'm working on something like this, many times I debate when I should be getting into UV mapping, because sometimes it really pays off to do the UV mapping incredibly early instead of later on. And that's because you'll end up duplicating an object so many times that having those UVs early on just makes a whole lot more sense. So I think I've kind of memorized what I'm doing with this reference material, so let's go ahead and start rotating things. We're going to keep things relatively perfect at the moment, meaning, you know, perfect 90-degree angles, and then we'll move to something else shortly enough. And actually, we're going to change this up a little bit, make one taller than the other. Start messing with some verts as well. Move this one down ever so slightly. Have this one now come up and over. And all I'm really trying to do is keep an aesthetic of randomness. Of this was thrown together by some folks a long time ago, and it wasn't necessarily done perfectly. Grab all of these elements at the same time, take them, move them up. Use D. I should probably be grouping these at this point. Yeah, let's group the whole group together. D. Let's see, that's W. D up, V down, X to about there. And the width actually is a little bit. So let's see, if I put my hand up to this, it is actually just about as wide as it is tall. And I could make these elements just a wee bit taller, and I think we'd be perfect. Let's grab them, let's grab this guy, let's go to this guy, grab both of these sets, and X them to the ground. Yeah, I like that. Not working with a scale, these elements are going to be used as part of the story mode in this, and therefore they're not going to be actually used in the game. They're just going to be there to be sort of placeholders as we're hearing the narration. Kind of like, as Mike put it earlier, kind of like how they do it in the Twilight Zone. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to duplicate this one, move it off to the side, and duplicate this one, move it off to the side as well. And we're going to start, moving things around a bit. Up, B, take this one, let's move this one up into the air, maybe somewhere around there. Let's take this one as well, and move them down a little bit. Just trying to make things look interesting. Okay, I'm kind of liking what's going on now. Let's just go ahead and rotate a few things here and there. Just give things some unique characteristics. And now we can worry about the actual door itself. Now we are going to be adding some UVs to, not UVs. So we are going to be adding some bevels to these because in this particular scene we've got polys to spare. Let's go ahead and make those doors now. So door, cube, bring it on over. The doors themselves are relatively thin on something like this. So let's go ahead and let's just use verts for this one. Let's go up to there, down to here, to there. Grab these and move them on in and grab. Now centering things, okay. Let's just not worry about it right now. This is all, actually we're not going to duplicate that. We're going to leave it as is. And what I think I'm going to do is, because since the scene is literally nothing is in this scene for the most part, I don't really need to worry about polys. So we can do something a little bit stupid. Scale this down ever so slightly. Maybe not quite so thick. Something like that. Delete. Control Z. Shift D. Move this one on over. Shift D, Shift D. And we're just going to Shift D everything across here. There we are. Now, how far into that? Is it shading X-ray? We're a little bit in there, so we're probably going to want to just shift these guys over and just make a little tiny bit of space here. We'll go with that. Okay, let's turn X-ray off. And now I'm going to want to fuse these together. So let's go ahead and just take one of these as it is right now, move it out, and rotate this thing 90 degrees. 90 or negative 90, doesn't matter, right? Hold down space, modifier, center the pivot. Move this up somewhere that I think is going to work. Hold down the D key, V, move to the back, move this over here, click there. And yeah, I'm liking it. Right click, vert mode, move this to like there, this one over to there. Might be a bit thick. So let's just grab that face on the front and move it in ever so slightly. Right click, verts, and let's see, where am I? Let's go there. That's good. I like it. So how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Really? All right. I'm not going to think about it. It says it's even, so we're going to go with it. So we'll do that there, grab both of these, duplicate them, move it down to somewhere about there. Really, we should be having a frame, right? These are all vertical. No, actually. And in fact, I'm kind of, really, if I want to follow that reference image a bit, and why not, right? I should be taking these elements, moving them out, and these should be attached to the door via this thing right here. Let's delete this one, duplicate that one, move it on down somewhere around there. I think I want this to be a little bit taller. Yeah, something like that. And let's just take both of these, duplicate them to the other side. Once again, asymmetry, not making things perfect, is the name of the game at the moment. We don't want things to be exact on both sides yet, if at all, really. Now that I move them over, we're kind of dealing with a little bit of a problem here. These need to be moved to like there, and these guys should be vert, there. We're just going to assume that somehow they're all together. These doors are going to open outwards together into the area, and these are going to be these sort of rusted elements that we're going to work with. Trying to think here. I'm looking at these. These are just straight across the entire thing, but I do need a cylinder to act as our pivot. So let's do that. Move this up. Once again, not terribly concerned with poly counts at the moment because this is in a scene with very little going on. So I can get away with a lot more than I normally can. This radius is huge, so let's move that down a bit and pop it out ever so slightly, something like that. Taking a look at this door again, we also need the element that's connected to the door itself. So let's just, that's a lot of polys, but it's probably okay. So let's just duplicate the darn thing, move one down, and scale one into the other one, sort of like that. And then we'll probably put some sort of a metal piece right there that'll act as, it's supposed to look something like the element that's connected to the actual door. Over here, I've got a bit of distance, a bit too much of distance, so let's take this, move that one into there. We could center it up if we want to, maybe somewhere about there. Let's grab both these elements, and really, let's just combine these. There's no reason for them to be, well, let's leave them separate, actually. Control D, move this down on here, somewhere about there. Grab this, rotate, move, and move that one in. Put that there. Should I have it flip upside down? No, because if you were installing the door, that wouldn't make any sense. So let's keep it to the real world, not crazy world. Control D, move this one over as well. We are going to have to go through and name everything. I am a staunch advocate of naming things, because if you don't, you'll end up screwing everything up. But at the moment, really what's going to happen is if we were to grab some of these elements and start grouping things, let's go to the window and go to the outliner and start looking at what we're dealing with at the moment. So we have a group right here, and this group is all that stuff. So this is the frame. So let's start naming things. Once again, names are up to you. All right, so let's save the scene. Let's actually go to File, Save As Scene. Let's do a number 2 on this. Perfect. And we've got all of this nonsense. Now, the reality is most of these are going to end up being... Excuse me. Now, the reality of most of these is they're going to be rotated a little bit here and there. And then I'm going to want to unwrap them with UVs. So the question is, when do I want to do that? See, this and this are definitely going to be one unit. This and this are going to be one unit. This and this are a unit. This and this are going to be a unit. What you're going to see shortly is the fact that as I'm creating things, I'm going to kind of jump back and forth a little bit through the design process. And that's just so... Oh, I'm about to undo... I am about to undo all of the work I just did. There we go. I just fused them all together. We're just going to call this frame. And apparently I have a group called frame. So edit, let's go back to the outliner and edit. Let's do an ungroup. I should still have, let's see, edit, delete all by type to get rid of the history. And move this on down a wee bit. There we go. There's the frame itself. There we go. The frame is just a solid object. I'm not going to be doing anything with it. Now, these elements, though, are probably going to be attached to these elements in here, the door elements. And at the moment, they're probably easier to manipulate to make them look a little bit more interesting like while they're still separate elements. So I'm just going to ever so slightly rotate them here and there. So now that they've been tweaked, before I start messing with things too much, let's just fuse these together, fuse all of these guys together as well, and click on them, right click, go to face mode, and just start tweaking things. So this is actually for the prologue. So in this prologue scene, we did a good discussion today, and we decided to, as Mike put it kind of like the Twilight Zone, where it's a bunch of elements that are relatively, divorced from any kind of environment, flying towards you, and the narration's talking to you, and as it talks, whatever item it's discussing at that moment is the one showing up. So in the case of these doors, what's going to happen is, and really these can be parented together. There's no reason to leave them separate. So let's do that. Let's grab these guys and parent them together. Not parent, excuse me, fuse them together. Because they will be using the same texture ultimately. There's no reason for me not to. So let's adjust some pivots. I'll move the pivot from this guy up and DV it up there. Same thing with this one. Let's do a D and V up there. Perfect. Let's do a modify freeze transform. And let's not do... So now, as I rotate this, it's going to rotate about that door. As I rotate this one, it rotates about that door. So as you come towards the door, obviously it won't quite do it that way, but these will open up to give you, entry into the next area, and we'll move through. And I think we're about ready to UV texture things. So from the perspective of this door, let's name it. We're going to call this door underscore left and door underscore right. So now it's time for us to open up Photoshop and to start thinking about what we're going to do with this. Now, obviously, these elements here, 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 and here are going to be some sort of a rusted steel. And I already have a rusted steel texture from earlier use. Whew, a lot of files here. Let's see what we have. We have anything rust. Let's use the bridge. Let's browse and bridge. So I'm just going to warn you right now, there might or might not be slightly disturbing material in some of these. It is a horror game after all, so there might be some bloody things, some fleshy looking things. So if this at all bothers you, please don't watch any further. I believe this particular image I found online. If you look up rusted steel, I'm sure you can find it. So let's go ahead and get rid of some of these. By the way, in the final game, we do cite and source any textures we take, and we only use textures or assets and so forth that are publicly allowed to be used. UVs. Okay, so UVs, we need UVs on this thing. So these are separate elements. Even though they're together, I can use grow selection to separate them. Let's open up in the side the panel, and let's go to panel and UV editor. So there we can see things. Let's grab all this junk, move it out of the way, and start thinking. All of them grow. This is why sometimes it's better to do the UVs earlier. At least in my experience, if you know what you're doing a lot earlier, you can end up making things work out a lot better. So here are all the separate UVs for that thing right there. And what I'm tempted in doing right now is actually just deleting this damn thing and deleting the verts up here, duplicating the faces and bringing it down to the bottom because that's easy. Let's go to face, but that means the texture would repeat probably a little bit more than I want it to. So that's been grown. Let's do UVs. Let's also do automatic again. That's going to produce something almost probably, yes. Let's do DV. It's pretty much, I guarantee you, the same. I can overlap the UVs if I want to, or I can drag them off to the sides. If I'm doing this, let's grab these guys and move them above each other, something like that. Now, these all can kind of come back together right about there. Now, this is huge in terms of the texture space. So, it doesn't give the boards a whole lot of space to work with. In which case, it might be a lot better for me to separate the rust from the wood texture. So maybe I will do that after all. Let's go grow selection, grow it on out. Same thing with this, same thing with this, and same thing with this. Grow, 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 grow. And now right click, hold down, and let's do an extract faces. Actually, you know what? Let's just do extract faces, close. We're gonna do that because that will have extracted this and kept it separate without me needing to go back and doing all that junk. So we've got this, and this, which can stay together. But before we get to that, let's go to this and let's do we have the UVs for it? We do. The tops have no business being that large. So we're going to shrink them down because reality is no one's going to even see them in our scene because this is sort of an autopilot moment. These, in proportion to what they end up being here, are actually not so bad. So we're going to leave them. But this is going to be sampling the rust texture. These are fine. I don't think anyone's going to ever notice what's going on with these. So we'll scale these down just like the other ones. Grab these guys, scale them down as well. Move it over here. If we want to get it precise, whoops. There we go, that one up there, and we can scale this, scale this to suit, something like that. Move this element over there. Grab these and put them. I'm just going to put them over there for the moment. Let's go ahead and create our materials. So right click and assign a new material. Let's call this to rust_m. And since that's a texture, let's just go ahead and find that. So rarely these days do I put things directly in my Maya project. I usually have separate ones. This can sometimes cause you problems, but kind of just how I've started to do things. So there we go. We've got these. Now it actually is very much bothering me that these guys seem to be sampling the same UVW space for the most part. Or are they? Yeah, they are. Okay. So let's frame in on... I'll just grab one. Yeah, so let's make these unique. What do you say? Let's go to shell, and all we're going to do is grab these and start moving them around. Once again, this is such a minor asset. It is literally going to be in this game for moments. Only moments. So it's not a huge issue here. So let's see. You know what? Part of me is dumb. And that part of me says, hey, you know what? In the real world, ones at the bottoms are going to be at the bottoms. Ones at the tops are going to be towards the top. So let's move the one to the top. Actually, let's move this down here. The stuff that's going to rust is going to be closer to the bottom, usually. The idea is that there's more water down there. There's more rust that can then accumulate. And we're going to do that here. We are going to give it a little bit of separation, just because it's always nice to give a little bit of space between things. Now, here we go. What do we got? This is top and bottom, these two. And because these are down at the ground, we are going to let them be a little bit rusty. This is also top and bottom. That's rusty. But these ones, thank you, clock. We're going to move down here, make them a little bit less rusty. Now that we've done that, we can zoom on in, and we can actually go ahead, and now the only edge that needs to be beveled is the lower one, because you can't see the upper one since it's embedded within the other one. These are also a lot of polys for this. Like I said, I wouldn't be doing this normally. Let's right click, let's go to bevel edge. Let's do, I like 3. 3 is always nice, but the distance, the fraction's a bit high. So let's cut that down a little bit. There we are. I like 3. If we can get close enough, we can take a look. Oh, come on. There we go. I like 3 because it gives me a segment right in between the other two that captures light as it goes off the side. Yes, normal maps are wonderful and all, and yes, we could work with that. But that's just where I am. So now we've got to deal with this stuff. So these have all been separated at the moment. So this guy over here and this guy over here are also going to use the rust texture. And you know what? They're fine. I'm not even going to touch them. Let's grab these. Let's do another bevel. The fraction, let's make it 0.2. I do, actually, let's undo that. Let's grab that and that one. And yeah, right click, bevel edge, segments 3, 0.2, apply, and then we'll come down here and do the same thing. Always be aware of your poly count budget, and it's not something you can always think about. It's something that kind of comes with experience, and I'm not saying I know I have amazing experience with it, but think about it. Think about the scene you're in. You know, if you have talked, if you're working by yourself, that's one thing. But if you've talked to other people in your group, you should have a general sense of what's needed in the scene, how quickly you're going to pass through it. Like, I'm spending a little bit too much time on these little elements here, here, and here. I should probably be moving through this a lot faster, but I'm also going to do this entire asset in a single night because there's no reason not to. Let's see here. Let's go to Rust, and we're going to link these together now. Oh wait, before we do that, let's bevel this guy. Yes, it is metal. It might, maybe it should have a hard edge here and there. Actually, it doesn't need a hard edge on the back because you're never going to get to that. You're never going to see anything. Actually, that's not even connected to the back. So I might need to consider that. Now, we will open the door up, so maybe I should do that part right there. But the rest of it is really not necessary. So let's go ahead and do another bevel. A lot of polys added on that one, but it's fine. It's not going to really cause any problems for me. Same thing over here. No, top. You want to do the top because we haven't done the other side yet. And let's see what happens when you add this to the Rust. Merge these guys together. Get them all in the same space pretty much. There we are. Save. So what I really would like is for the UVs on, no, not U, sir. Yes, the U. Right click face. I would like to rotate these 90 degrees as well. Let's do that. Let's grab all these. Rotate, rotate. And since this is the bottom one, let's do that. Let's do it like this. And let's take these. So this is from bottom to top. The Rust is over there. That is kind of messing with me a little bit. I'm going to scale them down ever so slightly. So it's okay enough for me. Might go in and modify the Rust texture a bit here and there, but I'm okay with it. It's not a huge problem. Okay, so that's this. So what we're going to have to do now, because I've decided to go down this route, is grab this, and group them together. The idea here is that the group's transform is now going to be at the pivot. So let's do a D and a V, move it right there. And now the group itself, if I press the up key, will rotate and do what I need it to do, which is open on up. You know what, before we go on any further, let's stop this video, and in the next video we're going to finish up with the wood and the, that is texturing this wood area and then hooking it up, and then we'll export everything out in the next video into Unity, and the final video for this particular asset will be us in Unity scripting this thing so that it's easy for someone else, someone other coder, to invoke the methods on this thing. And then we'll export it out as a package because that's what I plan on doing to give to my students. Thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video and found some of it informative.